Alright, so the Marvels is officially here, and with this being the newest entry in the MCU, where this is the team up between Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan as they're coming together to stop a villain who is a part of the Kree and who has the bangle, and even with these three heroes that apparently are so switching places because of power entanglement and just so much more, and so this will be my official review for the film. Obviously no spoilers, talking about like what I liked, and even with my issues of what I have for the film in general, and even with it just being my own opinions, and even for what this film had to offer, and just so much more. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, click the bell, there's so much on video visits. So let's get into it. And now going in the film, I mean, like, even with the marketing and the trailers, and they all looked good, but at the same time, it was sort of alright. And even with the character itself, Captain Marvel, and we didn't have any appearances from her even since the first Captain Marvel, and after Avengers Endgame, like we haven't had any appearances from her since. Even with her appearing in this film, or people would have some sort of hate to Brie Larson for like some reason, or even towards the character. But even with the Marvels, I found it to be like a slightly tad better than the first Captain Marvel, and just seeing these three heroes team up on screen for the first time, it generally felt so good to see, especially with Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan, and even with Kamala Khan, especially from the Miss Marvel show, and we all experienced it, especially with their family, even with the bangle and the kind of powers it unfolds, and it was just really exciting to see like these three just team up together on screen just to take down a villain that is part of the Kree. The premise of this film is with these three heroes that get power entanglement, and they switch places all because of Dark Ben that has a full possession of the bangle, which is apparently the second bangle, and with the powers it unfolds, and with these three that they switch places wherever they use their powers, and just to see it unfold, it was sort of good. And even with the events that happen in Miss Marvel, it sort of leads up to all this, and even after WandaVision and the first kinds of Marvel, and with like Kamala's family and with her home, it's just sort of nice, and there's even where all the fight scenes go down, and even with the locations that they visit, it's sort of fun, but at the same time it was just alright and just like a generic, but I thought it was pretty executed well, as I thought it would be, but it was generally not bad. Even with that, it was sort of cool to see, and you with Nick Fury that is involved, which was the cool part, and you was to see everything that is happening from the space station, of what's happening with the Kree, and just with everything else. It was sort of good, but at the same time, it was sort of alright. Alright, so let's talk about the characters in this film, and that is starting with Iman Vellani's Kamala Khan, and I thought she was the definite scene stealer. I loved her in the film. I thought like she's everyone's a fan favorite, especially after Miss Marvel, and plus I love that show, but I liked it. But so I just loved her presence on screen, and the way that she interacts with Carol Danvers as she is meeting her for the first time, and it's even seeing her idol, like it was so sort of heartwarming. But even with the rest of the characters, they don't get enough time to breathe. Even that this is like the shortest MCU movie, but even with the history of Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau, and even with them having to meet up for the first time ever since Monica was a child, but it's like I just like the chemistry between all these three, and even with how Captain Marvel like it interacts with Kamala's family. It like sort of cool, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know if it was rushed, but at the same time, it felt good. But even with the fight scenes, and it just sort of felt wacky, and or it sort of felt like silly in a kind of way. But at the same time, but even though I overall enjoyed it. Even with the villain Dark Ben, who's played by Ashton, who's in fact the real life fiance of Tom Hiddleston, but even with how she betrayed the character as this villain who is a part of the Kree, I feel like her performance was good. It was alright, but it was sort of weak and just sort of bland. and like a throwaway villain that is somehow just forgettable, and how like this villain is a part of the Kree, and even with the action and the fight scenes, it's sort of silly, but I just had a good time with it, and the way that I execute the fight scenes. And so somehow I still have issues with this film, and plus these are just my own opinions. But it was like I just like enjoy everything else about it. Like even though like people saying that they thought it was bad, but I mean it turns out like I thought it was not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it was good but not great, and just everything else, it was fine. For the way that the movie opens, it's sort of like what this movie is trying to execute, and that is like trying to hook you in. But as soon as everything starts like going and moving at like a fast pace, it sort of felt rushed, and these characters like don't get enough time to breathe. You know, it's like the shortest film. But as I said, this was a fine, solid MCU entry. It's definitely not a perfect movie, but I think everyone else will definitely like this film and just form their own opinions. And even with the action, it's good, but you know, like I said, it's really action packed and fun in like a good way, and even with how everything else is like resolved, and even like in the third act and the final minutes of the movie, it's sort of fun, but and even with like setting up so much for what's to come, especially what Marvel Studios is teasing all along for the future of the MCU, or should I say the multiverse saga, of course. And I liked everything I execute, but everything else, it was just solid, and it was alright, but it was good. Plus, the ending and the final minutes of the movie, it got me so excited for what's coming in the future of the MCU, especially with the multiverse saga. But with the ending and the big credit scene, will get you so hyped up for what's to come. And for when I say this, y'all are not ready, and even with the post-credit scene, that'll definitely make a jaw drop, and it's certainly mind-blowing, and I won't spoil what it is, even with those rumors and reports from insiders. But y'all are definitely not ready. But plus, I'll make a separate video for that. But even with everything else that is perfectly executed, and the way that it's going to be set up down the road, especially for what we know and everything that we know for what's to come, it'll definitely get you excited. With the main issues that I have with this film, even though it's the shortest MCU film, and even with what director Nia DaCosta was trying to execute and what she want to contribute with this film, like I thought she did a good and fine enough job, and even with the trio and with the villain and the storyline, and I got that at this film went through reshoots and behind the scenes of the drama, and even in post production. But I feel like with the way that everything was executed, like as I said, it was alright. It was definitely not great, but it's definitely not perfect. But it was good. It was a fine, a solid enough entry. I just had a good time with it, and as I said, I was trying to enjoy the film, like trying to get myself trying to enjoy the film, but I just sort of felt it was generic and predictable. But this will be the film that, even with the younger audiences, and even with the fans, especially of Captain Marvel, will definitely enjoy it, definitely get a kick out of this. Even throughout parts of the film, they were just definitely a mess. They were a drag, and sometimes they just felt predictable. It's sort of just silly in my opinion. And even with the way that the MCU is trying to control its quality issues, and that's with the way that everything is executed throughout parts of the film. This was sort of solid, but I mean, I'm trying to think of things to say about it, but just alright. But so I just like the chemistry between these three. But even with the rest of the characters and with the Flerkens, it just sort of felt silly and just sort of bland as well. But it was good and solid enough time. And yeah, so my final thoughts on the Marvels, and again, I thought this was a fun and solid time. I love the team up with this trio, and even Iman Vellani, and I hope that she gets to shine in another project from the MCU. I loved her performance in this film. She was such a scene stealer. I especially loved her character, even with the Flerkens involved. It was cute with the Flerkens, and you with Goose, and you with the return of Nick Fury was also nice, even with Monica Rambeau and knowing about her backstory, and even with the way that everything was unfolded in the shortest MCU film in like a short amount of time. But at the same time, it was rushed and was it perfect? I mean, no, but it was a good, solid enough time. But even like the post credit scene and the ending will definitely get you hyped up for what's to come. And I recommend this film, and I hope everyone else does as well. Even if people say that it's good, or they say it's bad, but hey, we're just here trying to form our own opinions and more. And so that is going to be it for this video, and let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below, and what your thoughts on the Marvels if you've seen the movie, and give your rating to 1 out of 10, and just let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and to turn on notifications about future videos, and also follow my social, which are linked down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.